I was 15 years old when I learned that silence can follow you. That summer was the first time I had a girlfriend. Her name was Lauren, and she lived 3 blocks from me in one of those neighborhoods that looked like it came straight out of a real estate brochure. Wide streets, manicured lawns, motion lights that blinked on if a squirrel sneezed too hard. Nothing bad was ever supposed to happen there. I didn't have a curfew, so most nights I walked to her house after dinner. I knew the route so well, I could have walked it with my eyes closed. Streetlight, mailbox, oak tree, fire hydrant, repeat. One night, halfway down the second block, I heard something shift behind me. Not footsteps exactly, more like the dry scrape of leaves being nudged aside. I kept walking. Another sound followed, a quick rustle, then stillness. I told myself it was a cat or a raccoon. That's what you say when you're trying to stay calm without stopping. By the third sound, a branch snapping close enough that I felt it in my chest, I slowed down and turned around. The street was empty. No cars, no people. Just hedges lining both sides like dark walls. I picked up my pace, pretending not to care. My heartbeat betrayed me, drumming louder with every step. When I was a house away from Lauren's driveway, I heard it again. This time, it was unmistakable. Light footsteps, quick, matching my speed. I called her while I walked. She answered on the second ring. I whispered that I felt like someone was behind me. She laughed at first, then stopped laughing. "Hold on," she said, "don't move." I stepped onto her driveway. That's when she said it. "Who's the guy behind you?" I turned. A grown man was crouched low, moving toward me in short bursts, close enough that I could see the whites of his eyes. I screamed and bolted for the door. He grabbed me from behind, arm locking around my neck. I kicked and thrashed until he let go and took off into the darkness between the houses. Lauren's mom opened the door seconds later. I collapsed inside, shaking so hard I couldn't talk. The police came. They never found him. For years I couldn't walk anywhere without checking behind me. A few years later, during a thunderstorm so loud it rattled the walls, my family was home together for once. I was in my room watching TV when something slammed into my window. Not a tap, a bang. Rain streaked down the glass, warping the view outside, but I could make out a figure standing just beyond the window. He pounded again, mouth moving like he was yelling. I cracked the window and heard him scream that he was hurt. The storm swallowed most of his words. I told him to go around front and slam the window shut. I ran to the living room and told my dad someone was outside. Before he could answer, someone knocked on the front door. Hard. My dad moved toward it, but I stopped him. I don't know why. Something felt off. The phone rang. Caller ID showed our neighbor's name. My dad picked up, went pale, and whispered, "No way." He hung up and told us to stay back from the door. He looked through the front window and froze. Outside, crouched low, was the same man from my window. In his hand was something long and metallic, glinting under the porch light. My dad shouted that the police were on their way. The man stayed for another moment, then vanished into the storm. Later, we learned he'd been caught wandering the neighborhood with an axe stolen from someone's shed. When I was very young, maybe 6 or 7, I thought my mom was calling me from the basement. I was watching cartoons, TV volume loud, when I heard her voice say my name. I yelled back. No answer. I heard it again, clearer this time. I went down the stairs. Halfway down, I realized the basement lights were off. I called her name. Silence. I turned around, and that's when I heard it again. My name. From the darkness below. I ran upstairs crying. My mom came rushing from the other direction, confused and panicked. She swore she hadn't called me. She checked the basement. Nothing was there. I know what I heard. My grandfather once told me about a night walk that still haunted him. He lived on a farm, miles from anyone else. Every evening, he walked his dog along a dirt path by the woods. One night, they passed a man standing just off the trail. Hood pulled low. The dog growled and pulled at the leash. The man didn't respond to my grandfather's greeting, just kept walking. Minutes later, the dog started barking again. My grandfather turned around and saw the same man peeking from behind a tree, watching them. He hurried home. Leaves crunched closer behind him. Then a gloved hand clamped over his mouth. The dog attacked. My grandfather sprayed pepper spray blindly until the man screamed and let go. He never walked that trail again. When I was 12, my best friend and I explored an abandoned house in our neighborhood. Everyone said it was empty. We saw a face in the window. Up close, it didn't move. Didn't blink. We thought it was fake. A decoration. Someone messing around. Inside it smelled wrong, sweet and rotten. I picked up the head from the windowsill. It was real. Blood leaked onto the floor. We ran as the ceiling creaked above us, footsteps shifting in the dark. That head belonged to someone murdered by a gang. The person who put it there was never caught. A man once came to our door late at night selling samples. When my mom saw 5 other men sitting in his van, she told me to run. They peeled out before police arrived. Years later, backcountry skiing nearly got me killed. A stranger claimed his wife was camping nearby and asked me to lead him to my site. Halfway there, I realized his gear belonged to my friend. He stabbed me when I tried to escape. A flare gun saved my life. A helicopter saved my friends. In college, I watched a drunk girl nearly get attacked outside her apartment. A stranger followed her home, pretending to be friendly. We called the police. He turned out to be a serial predator. I used Craigslist once. The seller locked me in his basement. I found photos I was never meant to see. I escaped with a screwdriver and reported him. They later told me what he'd been doing. I still don't know what would have happened if I hadn't found that drawer. The last story still makes my skin crawl. I was babysitting a 6-year-old boy named Cody. He talked to someone named Agnes. A toy activated on its own. A door opened by itself. When I asked who did it, Cody smiled and said her name. I never babysat him again. Every one of these moments taught me the same thing. Danger doesn't announce itself. It waits. It watches. And sometimes, it sounds just like someone you trust.